Now that we've looked at factoring whole numbers, I want to take a look at reducing fractions. And we're going to have a couple of definitions that we're going to start with here. Two fractions are equivalent if they represent the same value. And a fraction is simplified when its numerator and denominator share no common factors except the number 1. Now, we have a rule that says when we have a fraction, if the numerator and denominator share a common factor, we can reduce the fraction by dividing both the numerator and denominator by that factor. Let's look at an example. Let's take a look at 4/8. Okay, so 4/8 is a fraction, but it's not yet simplified. It can be reduced. If you look at 4 and 8, both of those are divisible by 4. And so what we're going to do is we're going to divide the top and bottom by 4 to reduce. If we divide the top by 4, 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then if we divide the bottom by 4, 8 divided by 4 is 2. This fraction becomes 1/2, and that is the simplified form. One way to think about this, if you have a pizza and it's cut into 8 slices, and you eat 4 out of the 8 slices, you've eaten 1/2 of the pizza. These fractions are equivalent because they represent the same value, the same amount of the pizza, but we like to have smaller numbers because it's easier for our brain to process. That's why we simplify fractions. Let's do a few more examples together, and then if you want, you can look at even more examples on the link below. Let's take a look at 6/14. Now, this is not simplified because 6 and 14 have a factor in common. Both of them are divisible by 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide the top and bottom by 2 to reduce the fraction. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 14 divided by 2 is 7. And so we end up with 3/7. That can't be reduced anymore, so that is our simplified fraction. Let's move on to 15/75. All right. This has at least one factor in common. Both of those numbers are divisible by 5 because they both end in 5. So we can divide the top and bottom by 5 to reduce. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 75 divided by 5 is 15. So we get 3/15. But this isn't fully reduced because there's still a factor that the top and bottom have in common. That factor is 3. So we're going to divide the top and bottom by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And now we have our simplified fraction 1/5. Let's do one more. Let's take a look at 18/45. Actually, let's take a look at -18/45. We can have negative fractions. Nothing wrong with that. Now, if you look at 18 and 45, or -18 and 45, both of those are divisible by 9. We might recognize both of those as multiples of 9. So let's divide the top and bottom by 9. And I'm not actually going to write out the little divisions because we want to get to the point where we can reduce without writing out all of those little steps. Eventually, reducing a fraction might be the last step in a problem that has 5 steps, and we don't want each of those 5 steps to require several minutes of working little things out. So the goal is to get a little bit more comfortable with these. So we said that the top and bottom were divisible by 9. If we take -18 and divide it by 9, we get -2. And on the bottom, if we take 45 and divide it by 9, we get 5. So in the end, this fraction in its simplified form is -2/5. I want you to make sure that you get really comfortable with this, doing several examples, so that when we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions, you're comfortable with simplifying them, and you can focus on the new material on those days.